Not all good news that directly affects the Packers comes out of the state of Wisconsin. What do I mean by that? I'm going to break that down for you guys in this video. So please take a second to hit that subscribe button. In this video, we're going to be talking about a divisional rival of the Packers. Some of you may be scratching your head saying, okay, so now that the Lions have become relevant, are they considered a divisional rival? Man, there are just some teams that you love to hate. I personally love to hate on the Detroit Lions. I don't consider them a divisional rival, although they have recently become relevant and have given the Packers a little bit of a run for their money. I think the Lions take a step back this season. We're not talking about the Chicago Bears. They certainly aren't a divisional rival for the Packers. They've got to get some wins on us in order to become a rival. We're talking about a landing spot for players that leave Green Bay want to be that choice of like, hey, we need to get revenge on the Packers. So let's go to Minnesota. So what's the news coming out of the Minnesota Vikings that's encouraging for us Packer fans? It says right here in this article, JJ McCarthy's Vikings career is off to a brutal start and has a long ways to go. Listen, I am not one of those guys that is going to tell you that I'm shocked and surprised by that news, because I don't have the expectation of these college style quarterbacks coming into the pros and having an immediate impact on these teams. I don't understand the logic and thinking behind, some of these teams that are forcing these college quarterbacks into a pro situation and expecting immediate results. Or else you look at Chicago and what they did with Justin Fields and changing all of his mechanics and all of that stuff. So it just doesn't happen. And it's a very difficult process and a very difficult thing to do in order to have success. So what does this article go on to say? It says right here, coming out of OTAs, McCarthy has a long ways to go in his development. There's work to be done on his footwork, his lower body mechanics, his upper body mechanics, his ability to read NFL defenses, his command of the playbook, the consistency and accuracy, and everything else that you can imagine. That is good news for us Packer fans. Again, not shocked to hear that, but when you start talking about, man, we've got to overhaul everything coming out of McCarthy's mechanics and all of that stuff, that's discouraging. If you're a Minnesota Vikings fan, that is incredibly discouraging to hear and read about. That, man, we've got to work pretty much everything and overhaul everything in this guy's playbook. It kind of surprised me because I thought McCarthy was going to be the most NFL style quarterback or NFL ready quarterback coming out of the draft, just given the fact that he's coming out of the University of Michigan and Jim Harbaugh as his coach. I thought they had, maybe the most NFL ready style there. So I thought McCarthy was actually going to not have an immediate impact, but I thought that he was going to be, set up a little bit better than most quarterbacks out there. So again, doesn't surprise me a ton to hear that, just given the fact that it's tough for these college quarterbacks to go into the pros and again have immediate impact. So Minnesota Vikings may have been already thinking ahead of that and getting a quarterback like Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, again, this guy, he's just good enough to get into a quarterback debate. That's all he is. He's a very serviceable quarterback. The Jets, he started his career with the Jets, went on to Carolina, San Francisco, and now Minnesota. Sam Darnold, it says right here in this article, he's a 1-year rental designed to just steady the ship while the organization works out what their next step is going to be. So good news coming out of Minnesota for the Packers, because as they have that 1-year rental in Sam Darnold, they've got to re-sign Justin Jefferson. And so Justin Jefferson is going to have the patience to want to sit there and wait for their quarterback to develop, for a quarterback to just, is he going to want to wait for McCarthy to sit there and develop, or is it going to take more than just a year, 2 years plus? And Sam Darnold is certainly not that Band-Aid fix that's going to be there winning you some games. So where do the Packers fall on the schedule in playing Minnesota? So if you take a look at the schedule right here, Minnesota Vikings and the Packers play week 4, and that is going to be at Lambeau Field. That is certainly going to be Sam Darnold is going to be the quarterback at that point in time. But I think it's going to be a struggle. Sam Darnold, again, he's just a 1-year rental for quarterbacks out there for a team. And so when you start talking about them just really trying to there's going to be some hype on this game. You got Aaron Jones coming back to Lambeau Field and all of that stuff. But Minnesota Vikings certainly are going to lose this game. And then by the time, the Minnesota Vikings just get some losses under their belt, they're going to be struggling later on in the season. And they're going to be like, you know what, let's see what we got in JJ McCarthy. And the Packers play them week 17. McCarthy, again, they're trying to overhaul this whole guy's game, right? In fact, he was right foot forward in a shotgun formation. They're changing it to a left foot forward in a shotgun formation. Again, they're changing everything. Again, doesn't surprise me that the NFL does this with quarterbacks. Of course, they want to tweak the mechanics and all that stuff. But again, we're talking about an absolute overhaul for McCarthy. So where does that leave the Bears? So again, I talked to a lot of Chicago Bears fans out there, and the Chicago Bears seem to think that they've got their quarterback in Caleb Williams. And again, they're going to be running into maybe a similar type situation where that they had with Justin Fields, because they threw that guy into the fire. He wasn't ready for it. They changed all of his mechanics. They changed everything. And out of Chicago, we're hearing so much positivity that Caleb Williams is their guy, and it's going to be playoffs or bust for the Chicago Bears. That's going to be a tall task to ask for the Chicago Bears to go in there and make the playoffs when you are in a division with the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love, and you're in a division with Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions. So Caleb Williams, he's going to find himself thrust into the NFL starting role. And I think he's going to struggle. I think he's going to find himself, needing to change a lot of mechanics and all of that stuff. But leave your comments. Let me know what you guys think. Are you as encouraged as I am with the news coming out of Minnesota? Again, not too surprising when we start seeing these college style quarterbacks struggling, especially early on in OTAs, and having to overhaul everything and revamp everything. Leave your comments. Let me know your thoughts. Go Pack, go.